back to looking in the mirror.
So what about poverty? So poverty plays a big role in being depressed?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I also think historically and systemically too, we also are coming from these titles and giving ourselves these names, placards,
right.
I'm a counselor, I'm a clinician, but systemically there is a lot of context that does separate the conversation around just being able to be culturally competent in who we're working with.
Exactly.
And in my work, we typically like to use the term justice involved and not criminal.
Okay.
I know that might be something that hopefully can venture a little bit more, but also the context of saying this is criminal, that's criminal.
So is justice involved?
If you're justice involved, when we talk about like some of the clients that maybe we're working with,
Okay.
we're saying, oh, they've got some justice involvement. Because I'm not out there to label
Criminals.
Rob 2 burglary. That I don't want to even. It's like just saying like schizophrenia, dementia, depression, anxiety. We have some justice involved folks who, right now, when we talk about jail systems, that could be a whole other a whole other episode.
Yes.
When we talk about that, there's a whole conversation around rehabilitation.
Okay.
Why jails were kind of and prisons were created around this
Private,
concept.
yeah, it's a private practice. It's money.
Right, it's big money.
It's big money.
And I think we're somewhat on the front line of alternatives to incarceration to make sure instead of looking at that time, you're looking to be able to connect with a counselor and work that time in the community and not be in jail.
Yeah.
Got it.
And that's kind of essentially how we bonded a little bit more around that work. And I think it does hold a lot because maybe you're saying depression can stem from something that happened to have someone justice involved, but that also could stem from trauma.
Yes.
That also could stem from family systems that aren't adding up for that person to feel that support, or maybe that lack of connectivity with their spiritual side or with their support side.
Good point.
So I just want to make sure, I don't want to be a white cloak in a room trying to tell everyone what's going on. We're certainly part of also the context of the problems that inherently make people afraid of talking to a counselor in general because I'm not a know-it-all. I don't want to be a know-it-all.
No.
I just want to keep learning.
Yeah, and something that stuck out to me the other day is we're still saying the first black person to do X, Y, and Z. I really can't think of an example right now, but
2022, we still saying.
We're still saying the first
we had
black.
one 2 weeks ago. In 2018, Beyonce was the first
Headliner
of Coachella. Correct, of Coachella in 2018. Now that's 4 years ago. Now it shouldn't have took to 2018 for that to happen. That's crazy. But again, back to what you're saying. I gave you an example.
No, I needed that.
Yes.
And I think to Laura's point, going back to, how do we get people to trust people that look like Laura and I? White people in the system where, I come home after a long day of being a social worker in the court system being like, I did as much as I can in advocacy, but the laws are still more powerful than me. I'm one person, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in this job to make change, but I feel so powerless at the same time sometimes. Because, you know what I mean? It's hard.
I think for you two ladies right now, I think time. When you're doing work in a community like you're doing and you're passionate as you are, time will be the difference. When people come and ask you, hey, how long have you been doing this? And then now your faces are become very familiar in the communities. I think that will be, the litmus test for people being able to trust and being able to look more towards just a person who has the knowledge and the information to be able to help others versus just looking at the skin color or something like that,
That's huge. Yeah, that's definitely huge. And it's funny because I have a little phrase I say all the time, and when somebody robs a bank, people will judge that person very fast. Oh, this person let's rob the bank. And we talked about it earlier in regards to depression. What part of depression comes from criminal?
set it off, but why?
Yeah, but the point is, like you just said, why? We always will go and classify somebody as something, but we don't find the why behind it. And sometimes the why could be depression. It could be, like you said earlier, they could, and again, it's not always drugs, but it could there's been times I know people do criminal stuff because they need to feed their families. Right. And it's not depression, it's not because of something else. It's, there is a why behind everybody's actions. And yet we don't look for that why. We talked about Kanye earlier. Yes, we thought he was, different, and now we found out what his why is because he's bipolar. So that's his why. And there's a lot of other people, especially celebrities, that have those same disorders, or I don't want to keep using the word issue, but have those disorders, and we see them differently because sometimes everything that glitters isn't gold. We see these people on this platform like, oh, they can't do this wrong, they can't be this, they can't be depressed. I've been around some very rich people before. I've been around a lot of money, and no matter poverty, a lot of money, no money, people get depressed. What Puppy say? More money, more problems.
It's designer depression.
It
That's the
is.
difference.
There,
It's got that label on it too, like a little,
there is, people that have money do go through depressions. We've seen some celebrities commit suicide.
Mac Miller.
Mac Miller, yeah.
So would you ladies say
Thanks,
that
Yeah.
is that like a symptom? How would you say that? Is poverty a gateway to depression, or is it a symptom of depression? Like, how would that be classified? Because it sounds like sometimes when people go into these financial pitfalls of life, that's when depressive things are happening, extra drinking and things. They turn to other vices to try to help them get through those times.
I like the way that you say it's a symptom. I think it's a huge contributor.
Mhm.
We talk about folks that maybe don't have a secure home,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
That's such a contributor to impact
Mhm.
the overall wellness of who they are.
Mm.
If they don't have a job, that's going to impact all those things. I love that you say that it's a part of the symptom. It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the whole picture, right? It's one piece of a whole picture.
And not everybody that lives in poverty will have depression. So I don't want to
Correct,
paint the picture
correct.
that just because
Correct.
somebody doesn't have as much money doesn't mean you're going to be depressed.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, no,
because
that's
I think that it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Because I don't want to make it seem like we're just trying to identify that people, when they have financial issues and things like that, that
Right.
identifies that a person
Yeah.
is going to be depressed.
Right.
It really is the person's mindset and how they look at themselves and
Mhm.
see what's going on inside, whether in how they overcome if they do run into some type of hurdle, right?
Have you guys ever heard of PTSD?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's going to be one of our
Absolutely.
topics in a
Okay.
couple
Talk
weeks.
about it.
So post-traumatic stress disorder,
Mhm.
it goes along with depression, and I
Mm.
bring this up because have you guys ever heard of PTG?
No.
Okay, talk to us about that.
Post-traumatic growth.
Mm.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh.
So you're not going to get diagnosed with post-traumatic growth, but you're going to get diagnosed with
Post-traumatic syndrome. Right.
stress
Yeah,
disorder.
yeah, stress-
So, you walk into the counselor, you get a diagnosis, you're like, oh man, like I got depression, I got anxiety, like the stigma hits you. But if you think you touched on something earlier about overcoming something, that's resiliency. The ability to go through something that's really difficult, really challenging, really trying to come out after the storm, to get that sun up. That's being resilient, that's post-traumatic growth. So it's possible to overcome something stressful. So that's where my passion is just shifting the narrative. Language is very powerful, so we can talk about depression and we can acknowledge that is very difficult to live with. It is a disorder. Causes a lot of problems for people, but you can still function on depression. Some people take meds, some people go to church more. Like, it really depends on who you are, and it's kind of trial and error on what's going to work, on how you can live with it.
I heard you say people go to church more.
Some
But guess
people-
how they get there? When Franklin Crocker was putting dreams in driveways that was her. You understand? That's how people driving there. Y'all saw Ready Rob roll up in the truck.
I saw he was ready.
Yeah, he was ready. He was running a little late, so he was ready.
He was 6 minutes early.
And Wes Her put the dream in his driveway. Y'all saw he was rolling up real good. And
Parked
to
it
say-
like a car commercial.
and
right?
and for these depressive times, if you go in and refer somebody, you can save $100.
Oh,
You can get $100 in crock
Yeah,
cash.
crock
You can
cash.
save $500 on your trade-in.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's things that we can do here to help out with the depression. If you take yourself down to West Herd, down in Williamsville, and you want to get a new vehicle and you want to try to save some money, make it happen and go see Franklin and tell him Carrie Bridges sent you. Get $250 off of the used vehicle, $500 off the trade-in. Holla.
That's
talk
my
about your
man.
depression.
Deep discount. I
Yo,
love it.
that's my man. Yo. This
Love
dude is,
it.
I love the segues. He is a segue king.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the song real fast again, Carrie, you and I have to say a part about the song. Did I say my part? No, I don't get to say my part. The part is, I'm trying to, this is a more positive note here, but winners don't quit. Like, don't give up. And you can't give up. Like, you can't quit. And Kanye said a line, I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he said, giving up is way harder than trying. Was it giving up is way harder than trying? Was that the phrase he said? But anyways, you can't give up. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. You have to, and again, this is my opinion only. You have to have people like my friend Carrie, like a council of people helping you to put a battery in your back. We always talk about putting batteries in people's backs. This show was built to put batteries in people's backs. Anybody that's listening right now, we want to help them move forward, no matter what you're going through in your life. We want to put a battery in your back, whether it's buying a car, whether it's depression,
No matter what it is, we want to help people out, and that's what this show's for. We give people a platform to talk that talk with us, because again, like, you know, going back to why the reason the show started was my uncle started this radio show to give musicians the platform to talk about their music, and I wanted to do something different. I wanted to spin it around and give the listeners a chance to talk about the musicians now. And, you know, so we want to give back. We want to have these kind of outlets, you know, whether it's a radio show, whether it's a podcast, no matter what the outlet is, to give that person that attention they may need to help them out through their whatever crisis they may be going through. You know, just
That's awesome.
Ready got a question for Fast. We don't got a question. My bad.
No,
my bad. Okay.
I know where he's going
Yes.
with this, but no, I was going to say about that, everything that you just said in terms of depression and everything like that. If folks want to go down and be able to talk to you, they can go down to Premier Cigar. They can catch you down there while you're watching the NBA playoffs. It's located at 1327 Jefferson in Buffalo. And if y'all want to go down there and holler at Franklin this weekend and talk to him a little bit about depression and some of the things that we've picked up today from Lindsay and Laura, I mean, that would be awesome. And they were two wonderful women that are involved socially in the community here, trying to help out individuals with depression, anxiety, and things like that. And they genuinely want to try to help folks.
Yes, yes. And I can see the passion. And ladies, I know you said that you were glad to be on the show. I'm going to tell you this. I'm glad that you ladies actually came to the show, because what you have done for me today is you've helped me out in having this conversation. You know, you've given me some insight in regards to where somebody can get help from. You know, some of the clinical versions or clinical names of some of the stuff that we may not be familiar with. And I think, again, since we started this show, Carrie, every show has helped me out in my life, even though, again, I know we're supposed to help other people out, but it's helping me out. It's helping me grow as a person, helping me to be a better version of myself in regards to talking to our listeners, talking to Carrie and Aaron, in regards to whatever we may be talking about. And then our guests, we've had the most amazing guests on our show.
I believe it.
Like, we've had some amazing guests.
You have amazing topics that are, like, active listening alone. I didn't know people that weren't social workers knew about that.
For real.
So that,
Yeah,
to me, is like, you're doing it. You're out here starting from the ground up. We need more people in the community that are offering people who don't have a voice to have an opportunity to get their voice out
And
there.
bring it to the table. You know,
Exactly.
normalize talking about these things, talking about the hard stuff.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all part about breaking down some of these barriers. We talk about mental health. All of a sudden, it's like, I don't know where to begin. It's like, you don't have to have a beginning.
No.
You just have to start talking when you feel ready.
That is really amazing. And again, like you said, and a lot of times we do get embarrassed about talking about mental health issues, but like we all go through things in life.
Absolutely.
We all have, like you said, you said before, it could be trauma from your childhood. My father passed when I was 14 years old.
Sorry.
And, well, you know, and I had to learn how to spin things in life at 14 years old. So the reason I said that is, I tell people all the time is, even through tragedy, there's some silver lining through it. When my father passed, it was tragic. I probably went through some depression. I think I did at 14 years old because I idolized my father. However, my father was an alcoholic. So if he was living, I could have grew up to be an alcoholic as well, idolizing my father. Carrie can tell you, I didn't drink until 30-something.
Yeah, easily 30.
30.
Definitely wasn't in your 20s.
No. We would go to, everybody's parents would love me to go with them because I was always a designated driver. They know they're going to get home safe. Now, I may drive fast, but I'm not drinking.
Nice.
I'm driving fast, but I'm not drinking. So, again, we all need that person, those outlets to talk to when we're going through something. You know, have a friend, have a, you know, like you said earlier.
A journal. If you don't want to talk to somebody,
Ooh.
write it down in a journal.
Nice. That's
Some
a good.
people cringe at that, you know, it's kind of like corny. That's what one of the inmates that I'm working with said, that like, that's corny. I'm like, you know what, we need people to be doing corny
Yes,
stuff. It's
corny.
not corny, it's meaningful.
Corny's still cool.
Corny's
Corny's cool. Corny's
I'd better
cool.
have him doing something corny than go out here and murder somebody.
Thank
Just
you.
because he is holding it all in and couldn't let it out.
No,
Right.
true
And
story.
if you don't want anybody to find it, write it down, rip it up, start it
Right,
on fire.
right.
You're gonna feel something
Let it out.
after
You're
that.
absolutely gonna feel
Don't-
something.
Yeah,
And I
get
think
it
we're-
out of you. You know?
Totally. And just coming out of this time, you know, we talked about the beginning of 2020 to right now, we're all of a sudden starting to see the effects of what has happened when
Not to mention COVID.
you isolate, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
So there we go. So
Well,
we
ladies
are.
and gentlemen, thank you. You could have been listening to anybody else in the world right now, but you're listening to us, and we truly appreciate that. And like I said before, I got a new phrase here. If your smart device is not listening to the Franklin Crocker Show at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays, is it really considered smart? It's not. So,
No.
this is the Franklin Crocker Show. Thank you again, ladies, for coming in.
Coochie gang!
Yes, Coochie Gang! Coochie Gang! And God bless. Good night. Thank you.